Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana.
Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Samudira Vanachari.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Samudira Vanachari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Samudira Vanachari.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Shri Guru Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So we're reading today from the Srimad-bhagavatam, 8th canto, 8th chapter. We're going to cover several verses today because either they have no purport or they have microscopic purports. So 15 to 20. So this is number 15 that we'll chant. Samudra Pita Kosheya
Samudra Pita Kauseya.
Vasasi Samupaharat
Vasasi Samupaharat.
Varuna Srajang Vajayanting
Varunasrajam Vaijayantim.
Madhuna Mata Satpadam
Madhuna Matam Satpadam.
Samudra Pita Kosheya
Samudra Pita Kauseya.
Vasasi samupaharat.
Vasasi samupaharat.
Varuna srajang Vajayanting.
Varuna sarjam vajarantim.
Madhuna mata satpadam.
Madhuna mata satpatam.
Samudra pitakosheya.
Samudra vidakoshaya.
Vasasi samupaharat.
Vasasi samupaharat.
Varuna srajang Vajayanting.
Varuna sarjam vajayantim.
Madhuna mata satpadam.
Madhuna mata satpadam. Samudra pitakaushaya.
Samudra pitakosheya.
Vasasi samupaharat.
Vasasi samupaharat.
Varuna srajam vajayantim.
Varuna srajang Vajayanting.
Madhuna mata satpadam.
Madhuna mata satpadam.
Samudra pitakosheya.
Samudra pitakosheya.
Vasasi samupaharat.
Vasasi samupaharat.
Varuna srajam vajayantim.
Varuna srajang Vajayanting.
Madhuna mata satpadam.
Madhuna mata satpadam. Word for word synonyms. Samudra,
Samudra.
the ocean.
The ocean.
Pitakosheya,
Vitakoshaya.
yellow silk.
Yellow silk.
Vasasi,
Vasasi.
both the upper and lower portions of a garment.
Both the upper and lower portions of a garment.
Samupaharat,
Samupaharat.
presented.
Presented.
Varuna,
Varuna.
the predominating deity of the water.
The predominating deity of the water.
Srajam,
Rajam.
garland.
Garland.
Vajayantim,
Vajayantim.
the most decorated and the biggest.
The most decorated and the biggest.
Madhuna,
Madhuna.
with honey.
With honey.
Mata,
Mata.
drunken.
Drunken.
Satpadam,
Satpadam.
bumblebees,
Bumblebees.
which have 6 legs.
Which have 6 legs.
The ocean, which is the source of all valuable jewels, supplied the upper and lower portions of a yellow silken garment. The predominating deity of the water, Varuna, presented flower garlands surrounded by 6-legged bumblebees, drunken with honey. So repeat after me. And of course, we're still talking about the service to the goddess of fortune. The ocean,
The ocean.
The ocean.
which is the source of all valuable jewels,
Which is the source of all valuable jewels.
supplied the upper and lower portions
Supply the upper and lower portions
of a yellow silken garment.
of a yellow silken garment.
The predominating deity
The predominating deity
of the water,
of the water,
Varuna,
Varuna,
presented flower garlands
presented flower garden,
surrounded by 6-legged bumblebees,
surrounded by 6-legged bumblebees,
drunken with honey.
drunken with honey. Пчелки были опьянены. Bumblebees, пчелки. Нет, это не пчелки, эти шмели.
And there is a short purport. I mentioned microscopic purports. It's only microscopic in the sense that I don't have big realization. Someone, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta one time it wasn't even a purport. It was the first verse of the Srimad-bhagavatam that verse, and he was reported, it was advertised that he was going to give lectures for 30 days on the Srimad-bhagavatam, and it was common practice, probably still is common practice in India. When someone hears about discussions on Srimad-bhagavatam, they're thinking of the very intimate parts in the 10th canto about the rasa dance, and it's very, very intimate things. And people like to listen to it, of course, imagining that, oh, here's this lusty boy Krishna doing all these things. This will enhance our own feelings of engaging in such activities. So they think like that. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, it was known that he was going to speak for 30 days. They're thinking like that. But he sat down, and for 30 days, he lectured on the same verse and never made the same statement twice. It's a long verse, but he could take one word and give a whole lecture on it like that. Anyway, that's so for someone who is advanced, who has a great spiritual knowledge, like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta did. He was both a scholar and he was a pure devotee of Krishna too. He could do like that. So he, even without a purport, just with just the verse itself, breaking it down one word at a time and lecturing one word at a time, he was able to do that. So for me, purports are very small. I may or may not be able to say a lot, but maybe if Krishna allows. So after that, we'll go on. Purport: when bathing the deity in the Abhishek ceremony with various liquids such as milk, honey, yogurt, ghee, cow dung, and cow urine, it is customary to supply yellow garments. In this way, the Abhishek ceremony for the goddess of fortune was performed according to the regular Vedic principles. Well, actually, as part of the ceremony, you dress after you bathe the deity, because it's Abhishek, so you're bathing the deity, and at the end of it was a part of the whole procedure, you offer the deity cloth to wear. Whatever form it is, but you give them something to wear. And apparently here, the custom is to do something yellow, supply yellow garments. So that's what they were doing, according to the Vedic system. Also, on the side, we do art every day for Srila deity garment. There's meaning to those different articles, and the cloth, and we call it, say, handkerchief. We think a handkerchief, you have a cold, you're like that, but the handkerchief, or as a cloth, we use for the cloth. We just use the form of a handkerchief. It's convenient. It's cloth, but it also represents the giving charity of cloth. Like, just like if you go, someone might give if I was invited to somebody's home and they're doing a program, then they would probably give me some donation, including a dhoti. That's a common. It's a cloth. It's part of the ceremony, and the water that we sprinkle, it's called. Sorry, I forget what it was called. There's a technical name, but it represents some very nice ingredients. It's made with yogurt and ghee and honey and maybe some other thing. It's a very auspicious substance, and it's you're given to taste. So that's but we don't go through all that for the Arctic ceremony, but that's what it represents. The flower, of course, is a flower. Incense is some the smell of the earth in that sense. The lamps represent knowledge, like the lamp of knowledge in that sense. And the chamara, that's what it represents, but Srila Prabhupada said the chamara fan is actually, purpose of the chamara fan is to whisk away flies.
Mm.
And that's actually the purpose of it. And the peacock fan is a very nice fan, and that's especially meant for breeze. We're fanning the deities to cool them off, which is why in the summertime, in the wintertime, when it gets cool, we don't use the peacock fan. Of course, we don't get much of a winter here, but during that time, we don't use the peacock fan. Okay, going on. I want to read the next verse or two, and what is it? Bhusanani vichitrani Vishvakarma Prajapati Harang Saraswati Padman Arjunagascha Kundale. Vishvakarma, one of the Prajapatis, supplied various varieties of decorated ornaments. The goddess of learning, Saraswati, supplied a necklace. Lord Brahma supplied a lotus flower, and the inhabitants of Nagaloka supplied earrings. Tatakrita swastyayan otpala shrajang nadat dvire palam parigritya panina chachala vakram sukapola kundalam savrida hasang dadati shushobanam. Translation. Thereafter, Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, having been properly celebrated with an auspicious ritualistic ceremony, began moving about, holding in her hand a garland of lotus flowers, which were surrounded by humming bumblebees. Similarly, smiling with shyness, her cheeks decorated by her earrings, she looked extremely beautiful. Purport. The goddess of fortune, Mother Lakshmiji, accepted the ocean of milk as her father, but she perpetually rests on the bosom of Narayan. She offers benedictions even to Lord Brahma and the other living entities in this material world, yet she is transcendental to all material qualities. Although she appeared to have been born of the ocean of milk, she immediately resorted to her eternal place on the bosom of Narayan. So, Lord Narayan, the four-armed form of the Lord, in the Vaikuntha planets, he's got his, he's all the inhabitants in Vaikuntha planets, not Krishna Loka, but the other Vaikuntha planets, they have that same form. Four arms, and they look almost exactly like Lord Narayan. But Lord Narayan has a little white hair in here, and that is the resting place or the of goddess of fortune. She's always with him, and that's actually the way that the inhabitants of the Vaikuntha planets know who is Lord Narayan and who all his devotees are. And then, Well, let's go on. There's another verse, and then there's a purport we'll speak more on. Stana dvayang chatik Stana dvayang chatikvishudari samang nirantarang chandana kunkumokshitam tatastato nuparavalgu shinjitar visarpati hema lateva sa babo. Her two breasts, which were symmetrical and nicely situated, were covered with sandalwood pulp and kumkum powder, and her waist was very thin. As she walked here and there, her ankle bells jingled softly. She appeared like a creeper of gold. And let's just read the translation for the next one. While walking among the Gandharvas, Yakshas, Asuras, Siddhas, Charanas, and denizens of heaven, Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of fortune, was scrutinizingly examining them. But she could not find anyone naturally endowed with all good qualities. None of them was devoid of faults, and therefore she could not take shelter of any of them. Purport. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, having been generated from the ocean of milk, was the daughter of the ocean. Thus, she was allowed to select her own husband in a Swayamvara ceremony. She examined every one of the candidates, but she could not find anyone suitably qualified to be her shelter. In other words, Narayana, the natural husband of Lakshmi, cannot be superseded by anyone in the material world. So in Vedic culture, there's a ceremony called Swayamvara ceremony. Normally, the normal, ordinary women in Vedic culture, marriages were arranged by parents. It was normally arranged with considering from early childhood, with the help of expert astrologers, and to figure out what was the what person was actually compatible, but the marriages usually worked too. We can't say the same for modern times, but in that time the marriages normally were very good, and so while the boy and the girl were both young, through the help of astrology, they could get an idea that this person, this boy, this girl, they have certain kind of qualities. They will get an idea of their expected duration of life, whether they tended to be religious or have tended to be demoniac, like that. Things that might not show up in the youth, but it manifests later on. So astrology gives some idea of these things ahead of time. So that's usually how it was done. It wasn't. I know. Arranged marriages is not very much appreciated these days, and maybe there's no one qualified to make those kind of arrangements these days. But in previous times, it was the way, and it was all, and it was actually the best way. But it was based on a lot of different considerations, which I just mentioned. So anyway, but sometimes there was a very qualified woman, maybe a princess, or maybe someone who's extraordinarily qualified, very high class woman, who was given the chance to choose from many people might come forward, thinking, oh, okay, I'd like to apply to be the husband of such and such a lady, and they would and sometimes she would make some test, and that she felt okay if so and so can follow can pass this test, then that's who I will accept as my husband. So and there are instances of that. Um, Krishna, well, let's see, uh, Draupadi, the wife of the five Pandavas. They I think Arjuna was competing, and the test was for Arjuna, or same Arjuna that is in Bhagavad Gita, the same that Arjuna. The test was that there was a fish, dead fish, up on a wheel up on the way high on the ceiling, and from looking in a pool of water or a pot of water on the ground, seeing the reflection of the fish, the the Shishigornitai, Shishirada Vrajabihari, Jagannath, Balaram, Lady Subhadra, Shingani, Purad Maharaj Ki. By looking in a pot of water that was on the ground and taking his bow and arrow like this, uh, uh, to shoot that arrow through the eye of the fish. That was
Just by looking at the reflection.
huh?
Just by looking at the reflection.
Yes, which means you had to be really, really, really good at that. But that was the test. Anyway, Arjuna did it. He actually did it. He was the only one who could do it. Most of them couldn't even hit the fish, what to speak. But he did it, and he got through the eye. So he won. And then they so he was taking her home, and they went to Mother Kunti, their mother, and say, "Oh, look look what I brought, or who I brought." And she says, without seeing, she says, "Whatever it is, share it with your four brothers." So okay, they followed her instruction.
Because she had her eyes covered.
Right? No. She hadn't didn't even she said that without just okay. Your brothers, whatever you got, you share it between all of you. Oh, you brought a wife, okay. Share your wife. Well, she says like that, and they did. And as it turns out, Draupadi was very, very, very qualified, and she was somehow or other was able to satisfy all of them, all the five brothers. How they worked it out, I don't know the detail, but somehow or other, she was so expert. She never showed any favoritism to one over the other. She was when she was alone with any one of them, she was perfect wife for that one. So anyway, that was one case, and then of course there's the Lord Ramachandra, who among many princes competed to get the Sita Devi. She also was doing the Swayamvara ceremony. And that one was, you had to be able to pick up a bow, which I think had been given by Lord Shiva or Lord Parshuram, I think. A huge bow. They said it took 300 people to lift it. It was a big thing. But to pick it up and to be able to pick it up, and I think maybe pick it up and strips pole like that. No one can even pick it up. No one can get it off the ground. It was so big. He said it took 300 men to carry it out there. So what to speak of? Who could do it? But Lord Ramachandra, of course, he's no ordinary man. So he went and he very easily picked it up with one hand, very easily pulled the string, and he pulled it so far that the bow snapped in half. So he won that, and so he got Sita as his wife like that. So anyway, these are some instances in our books about how the Swayamvara ceremony. So here, the goddess of fortune, who is actually eternally the eternal consort of Lord Narayan, but she appeared in this way nonetheless, and so has the opportunity to decide on her own who she wants to marry, and she's walking around with a flower garland. Oh, right. Well, we haven't read it yet because we have one more purport. She's walking around with a flower garland, and she's trying to find that suitable person who would be her husband, but she didn't see anyone qualified. So we'll read one more verse in a purport. The goddess of fortune, examining the assembly, thought in this way: someone who has undergone great austerity has not yet conquered anger. Someone possesses knowledge, but he has not conquered material desires. Someone is a very great personality, but he cannot conquer lusty desires. Even a great personality depends on something else. How then can he be the supreme controller? So she already had her mind. I'm supreme controller. That's who I will accept. Purport. Here is an attempt to find the supreme controller, or Ishwara. Everyone may be accepted as an Ishwara, or controller, but still such controllers are controlled by others. For example, one may have undergone severe austerities, but still be under the control of anger. By a scrutinizing analysis, we find that everyone is controlled by something else. No one, therefore, can be the true controller, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. This is supported by Shastra. Ishwara Parama Krishna, the Supreme Controller, is Krishna. Krishna is never controlled by anyone, for he is the controller of everyone. Sarva Karana Karanam. So goddess of fortune, being actually eternally the wife consort of the Lord, she's at this point she's looking, but it's an eternal relationship anyway. So she's looking for the supreme controller. Anyone who's not the supreme controller was not qualified in her eyes. And in the translation, in purport here, we see that someone might have performed very, very great austerity, but he may not have conquered anger. It happens sometimes if we perform. So say we decide that I'm not going to eat anything but a grain of rice every day for the next 30 days. Austerity. So we probably won't get very far. But if we were able to do that, and we were forcing ourselves to do that, we probably, because of that heavy austerity, we probably become very easily angered. Oh, anything can happen, and become very angry because we're really straining to perform some heavy austerity, which is beyond our level of knowledge and realization. So sometimes perform great austerity, but then become overcome by anger. We may have knowledge. Knowledge means you understand. What is the definition of knowledge? Anyone listening? Definition of knowledge, in terms of Krishna conscious knowledge, means to understand what is material, what is spiritual, and who is the controller of both the material and the spiritual energies. What is material, what is spiritual, and who is the controller of everything, which means the material and spiritual energies. So that's knowledge. So someone may have some degree of knowledge, but unless, in terms of book knowledge, but if he doesn't engage fully and wholly in devotional service, then he will still until he engages fully and wholly in devotional service based on that knowledge and realized knowledge, then he will not be able to conquer material desires. So that's another. She was analyzing like that. Someone may have knowledge, but if they're not acting completely on that knowledge, 100%, then they will still not be able to conquer the material desires. Someone may be a very great personality and maybe a very powerful personality, but he cannot conquer lusty desires. A very good example of that in our Vedic knowledge, Vedic reading literatures, was Ravana. Ravana was a very extraordinary person. He was very powerful.
Devotee.
Huh?
He was a devotee too, right?
No.
No?
Devotee of Lord Shiva. Not a Vaishnava devotee. Ravana was who stole Sita away because of his lusty desires. So Ravana stole Sita away because he was so lusty. But as a person, he had a lot of knowledge. He didn't have knowledge to the degree that he was going to surrender to God. But he knew a lot from Vedic literatures. He was very powerful in so many ways. He had all that, but he was not a devotee of the Lord, so he was very much controlled by these material desires. So the goddess of fortune is analyzing all these different possibilities. They can have this good quality, but they have this other quality goes with them. Someone may be a very passionate person. They're working hard. They but that passion also, if it's actually passion that's driving them, that passion will also means increased lusty desire. It's not just we can work very hard, we can be very enthusiastic, but if we're being driven by actual the mode of passion, then passion brings out material desires, lusty desires like that. So anyway, she's analyzing like this. She's seeing all these great demigods, great personalities, but she's not finding anyone who is perfect in every way. And she wants someone who's perfect in every way, because actually her eternal relationship with the Lord that's what it is. He's perfect in every way. My watch stopped. But we have 3 minutes left. Questions?
So why does it happen that even if you perform austerities, the anger could become more intense? You're still experiencing anger. Why is it happening?
Why do you still become angry when you're performing austerities?
Yes. Even after performing austerities, it even becomes stronger, more intense.
Yes. If we are if our austerities means that we're really struggling and straining and to conquer our material desires by artificial means, then yes, we will tend to become angry because we are so say it's not natural. But you can perform austerity and if the purpose is to become Krishna conscious, austerity for the purpose of becoming Krishna conscious, then that will give a different result.
Okay.
Okay, so our austerities, I gave the extreme example of eating one grain of rice every day for a month. Austerity. Nobody can do that. No ordinary person could do that. But if you're thinking like someone doing like that, you can imagine trying to do something like that, and you're hungry, you're starving, and you're smelling the nice prasadam coming from the smells coming from the kitchen, or you're seeing devotees walking by with big plates of prasadam, and you're thinking, you can imagine what it would.
You feel very unsatisfied.
Yeah, you feel very become angry because it's
I
frustrated.
see.
It's frustrated sense gratification is what it is. So you become very angry because you're not feeling a higher taste. You're thinking, why am I doing this? It's so much hard, so much struggle, so much pain. Why do I have to do this? Why are they getting to eat and I'm here? The mind will say, and then we, of course, we become angry. Anger, there's verses in Bhagavad Gita. By contemplating the objects of the senses, one develops attachment. From that such attachment, lust comes. From lust, attachment, we get some desire. Say, I would say, I don't know, get some. Say you're walking down the street, you see an advertisement, a diamond necklace or something. Some jeweler is selling this wonderful diamond necklace. Only $25,000 for that's diamond necklace. But you get attracted to it. So you're looking at it, you're thinking about it, and you start contemplating it. First there's the desire, and then the desire becomes more and more intense. That's called lust, and then if I come in object of the senses, one develops attachment. By such attachment, lust develops, and then when you finally realize there's no way I earn $1.50 a week in my job. So how am I going to? But I have to have this $15,000 necklace. And then it becomes so intense. Then you get angry because I can't get it. Or maybe you got it, and then while you're not looking, somebody just stole it. Either way, somehow your sense the sense gratification you're contemplating is frustrated. So then you become angry. You come under the control of anger. There's two kinds of anger, but this one is a bad one. You come under the control of anger, and then anger arises, and then the memory becomes bewildered. We forget, if we're practicing Krishna consciousness, and we do that, then we forget, who am I? What am I? What was my real purpose in life? Like that, and then the intelligence becomes lost. What the intelligence? What is the intelligence for? What is the function of the intelligence?
To discern between good and bad.
Basically, Srila Prabhupada says to analyze. Intelligence means the ability to analyze a situation in proper perspective. So if we're practicing Krishna consciousness, of course, this problem is everywhere, whether you're practicing Krishna consciousness or not. But our concern, because we're practicing, is how to not let it interfere with our spiritual life. So if we get to the point of lust, anger, bewilderment of memory, we forget what we're doing, our intelligence is lost, so we start thinking, maybe I'm just going to give up this Krishna consciousness. Maybe I have to go out there and get a good job and I can get this $15,000 necklace I want to, whatever the mind will contemplate. But or if I go out and I completely give up Krishna consciousness so I can become, you completely forget about the purpose of life because you got so lusty and greedy for this object, and then you give up everything. So, but if one is practicing Krishna consciousness and performing some austerity, it's all austerity. Basically, our austerities are the four regular principles. We're not sitting in the middle of a ring of fire like the yogis in Sacha Yuga, under the hot sun. That's not our austerity. We're not performing the severe kind of austerity like the full the Chaturmasya type austerity with all the rules and regulations. We follow the regular principles. We chant Hare Krishna. We stay in the association of devotees because you can't become Krishna conscious without that association like that. And this is our austerity is to continue to stay on the path of Krishna consciousness, and one way or another. We just stay on our path of Krishna consciousness. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's a real challenge, like that. But that's our austerity. Austerity is to chant our rounds, follow the regular principles, stay in the association of devotees, and so on. This is austerity. This is our austerity. We do something.
And do devotional service, right?
Of course. Of course, we're going to stay in the association of devotees and chanting our rounds. That's also devotional service, very important devotional service. Hearing the Srimad-bhagavatam Class, and so on. We do those things, and austerity means and the austerity that we do is for the purpose of making spiritual advancement. Someone may do austerities, like I gave the example. Told the story the other day. I told the story the other day about the boy who he wanted to learn how to walk on water, so he left everyone. He spent maybe his whole lifetime, 50, 60, 70 years. I don't know how long he lived, performing heavy austerities to learn how to do that. And he came out back to show off what he did, and of course, then someone said, for 10 cents, I could have taken you across the river in a boat. You don't need to walk across the river on water. You wasted your whole lifetime preparing like that. Just, I could have taken you across for 10 cents. Made the point. So our austerity is not that difficult. It's the main thing is to keep doing devotional service, stay in the association of devotees, keep chanting our rounds, keep following the regular principles, keep doing what we can do towards giving Krishna consciousness to others. This is our austerity, and it's all sometimes difficult, but it's doable. It's practical, like that. I think I'm way over time. So I'll just check real quick to make sure if anyone left a message. But look at this. What is the proper way to assimilate this knowledge about Vedic culture, even though we may not be able to practically apply it in the modern culture? Thank you very much. The proper way to assimilate it? I'm not sure I understand the question. I mean, we are following we're following some basic principles of Vedic culture. We're following some basic principles of Vedic culture, but we're not exactly really following the Vedic culture. I mean, Vedic culture, the whole Varnashram, and your boys went off to school for 20 years with a spiritual master, who learned so many things. There was a whole different thing, and we're not even totally following uh, the not even perfectly following even the Gaudiya Vaishnava path. We're doing that with the adjustments that Srila Prabhupada made for us. So we're Prabhupada culture, more or less, and that we can practically do. Um, um, and by following the instructions that Srila Prabhupada gave, we become Krishna conscious, and we have the ability to give that knowledge to others. I'm not sure if I answered the question, but we can. This is Gauranga. So if not, send me an email, and we can discuss further. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.